simple terms, to the best of my knowledge, and I think also to Katie's knowledge, there just really is not a well-developed set of tools for cooperative grocery stores or cooperative businesses in general. And so the result is that I think a lot of time is spent by just individual communities really just recreating the wheel on our own and doing the same thing, spending a lot of time, effort, money, headache, doing the same things on our own that we could that we could just collaborate and save all that time and be able to focus on the things that are more important. Yeah. So the opportunity then, and why we're here, is the idea is by creating a set of shared business tools that reduce the barrier to entry and every kind of administrative bureaucratic friction for both formation and operation of cooperative grocery stores. That's our opportunity. We're going to focus primarily on the website, the idea of a website, because that's kind of an anchor. Everyone needs a website. But just to dream and think expansively for a little bit where this could go is, beyond a website, a mobile app, tools used for fundraising, which kind of ties into a CRM, any kind of email, digital marketing. This is thinking a few steps ahead now, but even to the point of a point of sale system that's more tailored towards cooperative grocery stores, and any number of things that we all do in the formation and operation of a cooperative grocery store. So that's the really kind of big vision of an overall like ecosystem of shared tools that can be built once and utilized by as many people as possible with a minimum of customization. Yeah. So the benefits would be a lower barrier to entry to just anyone who wants to begin the process. To like, where do I'm actually talking with a group of friends now, together with Katie actually, about getting the very beginnings here in Plano of starting with a buying club. And so, it's easy to imagine the benefit there of just lowering the barrier of entry and knowing where to start and having a precedent out there in even down to the level of the tech tools that would be used. And then I don't need to read all these, but hopefully just kind of illustrating the same point of just increasing the velocity of operations, getting up and running, and then just carrying out the business of getting a store up and running and operating the store and being able to focus on the things that matter rather than recreating the wheel of things that don't, in and of themselves, don't really matter that much. Okay. Thoughts so far? Is that we all on the same page? And is this, I guess, to validate, first of all, is this speaking to a problem that anyone can relate to?
Good question, Noah.
Yeah. And is this a problem worth trying to solve?
People are saying yes in the chat, most definitely.
Yeah.
Art is nodding his head.
Yeah.
Stephanie, wonder if you might want to chime in if you're able, since Purple Carrot's kind of in the midst of this.
We're gonna go through, Stephanie, with your permission, we're gonna go through kind of in detail the plan of what we're planning to build for Purple Carrot. It's kind of the first. Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah, we're so excited to be the pilot co-op for this work. And I don't know that either of you mentioned it yet, so I'll just mention it to the group that's here. The way that we're funding this project is actually through the HFFI planning grant. And so we just think it's a really great way to make those dollars go even farther by testing out what this website and what these resources, some of these resources could look like to benefit our fellow cooperatives and not just ourselves. So we're hoping to share the love with all of you.
Yeah, wonderful. And Sheila, it looked like you were maybe raising a hand.
Hi, I would wrap my both arms and big shoulders around this whole thing. This sounds really fantastic, and I think Katie probably knows a little bit. This is the kind of stuff I nerd out on, and even if, like, I know you're going to work with Purple Carrot and everything.
Mhm.
Yeah, right now, I would just love to be a fly on the wall and assist any way I can. Maybe this is not the time for this conversation, and Noah and Katie, maybe I'll reach out to you later privately.
Yeah.
But yeah, this kind of stuff's my jams.
I think that this is the time to make exactly these kind of connections. So if you don't have my email, you have Katie's contact information, I'm sure. So yeah, that's part of why we're here, to cross-pollinate and see what sparks fly. So and Stephanie, I think I'd speak for everyone in expressing gratitude for you guys being really the first mover and sort of getting the boulder moving. So just delighted for every aspect of this, and especially for you guys putting your money where your mouth is, right? With help from the organization you mentioned.
We have one
Okay.
more question. It
Oh,
looks like
sorry.
Penny has her hand raised.
More so just like comments, just to maybe like further like uplift, but this cross-pollination makes sense. We're at a similar step with HFFI with a startup co-op, and like we have some money in the HFFI for a website, and then we plan on working with a co-op web developer, because here in Austin we have like a lot of different tech co-ops, and so that's a fortunate thing we have, but this would reduce the cost, obviously. And also, like, we already have a food co-op established, Wheatsville, and then we're having a new one pop up, Del Valle, and then I am aware of 2 other projects in her area too. So just to speak to, like, also there's just like a lot of growth here, and then immediately if there's more infrastructure, it's easy to like plop more of these down. But also speaking from the perspective of being a co-op developer myself.
Yeah,
That's
awesome.
cool.
Delighted to hear all of that. Yeah, and I think that's the vision that I see is something like a tiny modular house or something, that it's just doesn't have to be a huge ordeal to get a living structure there. You got just very low barrier of entry to get started. Okay. And just kind of expanding on the benefits and the vision. Once there is a shared set of tools out there, so instead of everyone racking their brains, someone staying up all night trying to figure out how to use Squarespace, someone else doing the same thing with Wix, whatever, right? With a shared set of tools comes a shared body of knowledge, right? And so it really, I would love for it to just take on a life of its own with these tools, and all kinds of creative ways that that no one person would think of on their own. Okay. So where are we at currently? So as we mentioned, so Purple Carrot is really the first ones to get the boulder moving here. And so we have just kicked off the process of starting to build this first site. And then what this will do and how this kind of gets us on the map is, the site, of course, is being built, very specifically for them and for their specific needs, but being similar to a lot of us, encapsulates a lot of the things that we're all going to do in maybe the same or maybe a slightly different way. So the idea is, this first site that will be built will serve as the chassis of what can be a more generalizable template that then in turn can be customized for, hopefully very easily customized for any number of co-ops quickly. Okay, and then going further beyond that, the expansive vision, of course, is this grows to more than just a website, but then dovetails into POS, ERP, an iPhone app.
What's ERP? What's ERP, Noah?
So what used for like ordering, managing inventory.
Ah, okay, cool.
Right? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Just the whole like business life cycle, right?
Mhm.
You know, maybe payroll. I don't know. So, yeah, good question. Okay. So, so next steps here. So I guess I kind of just spelled this out already. So, you know, getting off the ground by actually building the Purple Carrot website. And so where we're at, and I'll get into this next in a moment, is we have a game plan, and we've really spelled out in a fair amount of detail this first website, very specifically what we want it to be able to do for the initial launch of the website. We'll get into that in a moment. For this larger project, though, towards the idea of this generalized template is to elicit requirements from this community, and whoever wants to participate for, in addition to or going beyond, expanding on just what Purple Carrot is doing, what more features should be included in that, what more capabilities should be baked in to the template. Okay. Once we've got kind of a critical mass and a battle-tested you know, set of requirements prioritized, then the next step in seeing this come to life would be to start creating some interactive prototypes. And then just like with any kind of product development, to then, you know, kind of like guided consultative sessions to like, okay, let someone else try and click through the prototype and gather feedback that way and just refine. Once that's got to a sort of critical mass of, okay, it looks like we've got a model that looks like it'll work and, you know, does the most for the most number of people, then go ahead and build the reusable template. However possible, train a community of users to be familiar with the template. And then the idea is that once this template is out there, it's basically just common property of the entire world, really. And so, you know, just in transparency, my business is software development. So I would be available for hire to take the template and then customize it for any given community. But the vision is that, you know, any number of other businesses could pop up. It could be, you know, or if someone was good with it, they could take it and do it themselves. Right? But the template itself would be out there as common property. As close to, you know, with some guardrails maybe. And then going forward into the future, that going beyond the website, that the whole ecosystem would take on a life of its own with a growing set of tools that ideally all integrated together, with the website as kind of like the central hub of an ecosystem of tools. Okay.
And Noah, we did talk about this a little bit earlier today.
Yeah.
Many of you know that I have another platform called CoApp that's
Yes.
a contact relationship management fundraising tool. And of course, the plan would be that the two would integrate quite seamlessly. So if
Yeah.
you were using CoApp, it would integrate with your website if you were using this website. So
yeah, and you know, something else fun to share is that something else I'm working with Katie on right now is the CoApp 2.0. So coming very soon, and it will be, you know, we're working on all this together. So the idea is to just bake this in from the beginning, so that these tools connect and begin to form this whole ecosystem. Okay, all right. So today, here's what we can do in the next 40 minutes here is just, you know, get feedback on this kind of overall vision. You know, confirm this is a problem that we want to solve, and if there's any specific color or anecdotes we want to put on that. And then I want to walk us through, Stephanie, with your permission, walk through the specific project plan, or not quite project plan yet, but specific requirements of what we've determined we want to build for Purple Carrot initially, right? Which I think
Absolutely.
excellent,
for
excellent.
it.
You know, a lot of thought went into it, and I think it's a really well curated set of requirements to start with, that honestly gets us a lot of the way there. But then, in addition, I also have the notes from the version of this call that we did a year ago, which is a little more expansive than what's specifically in the plan for Purple Carrot. And just kind of look at maybe the delta of what's there and just continue to brainstorm a little bit and confirm some of those broader requirements. Okay. Any other thoughts about how we'd spend the next 38 minutes here?
I'll just mention, Noah, I know you're busy communicating with all of us, but there's lots of good stuff happening in the chat. Lots of people
Oh,
real
okay.
excited about this. People want
Yeah,
to get in on the fun. So
Excellent.
I think there's good energy around the
Yeah.
project.
excellent. And I told Katie earlier I want to do as little talking as possible, but I'm already doing a very bad job at that. So it really is intended to elicit feedback. So if there's a healthy chat going on, but feel free to stop and interrupt, and I'll try to interject and stop from time to time and just catch my own breath and give others a chance to talk. Okay. All right. So Stephanie, thank you for allowing us to use you guys as the guinea pig here. This was a fair amount of work went into just crafting this set of requirements, and I think there's a lot of value here, and can kind of give us all a foundation and a beginning framework for thinking about this. So, this is for Purple Carrot's specific problem statement, which, I think put in your name or the name of a different co-op. Is this relatable?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. All right. And so the scope of the currently planned project is, we're building a new website as we've been talking about, right? And so specifically to get into what's included in that. So to break it down and really look at the fundamentals of what we're talking about. So simplest thing would be just, it's a website that anyone in the public can go to. So, homepage is obvious. You type in your co-op, .coop or .com. There's a homepage that, part of the art with a project like this is, appearing. What we don't want to look is cookie cutter and for everything to be the same, right? So that'll be kind of part of the art of each individual implementation, right? But at any rate, homepage, any number of just additional informational pages. And the idea is kind of a common template, whether it's a page to focus on other area local businesses or to focus on, area poetry events or, whatever specific types of things or information any co-op wants to share. Contact form. Okay. Let's see. Yeah. Yeah, and then possibly the contact form is just pretty general. So, to be able to personalize that to be, I'm interested in becoming a member, I'm interested in funding, and just have that baked in that to be able to easily program where different types of contact submissions would go. All right, so that's just kind of the table stakes of any website could have similar functionality. Also a public events calendar. And I think by the nature of being a cooperative business, it's integral with the community that it's situated in. And so, beyond just being a place to get stuff to eat, it's a community hub. So for their own events, other community events. Okay. So the calendar, and then being able to drill into the calendar and get more information about that specific event. Yeah. And then part of that, of course, is, a calendar is only as good as someone keeping it up and keeping it current. So part of the art is making it reducing the friction as much as possible of whoever's job it is, whoever gets volunteered or voluntold to be the person to maintain the calendar, right? Okay, all right. So something else that was deemed important for the Purple Carrot website is a news and update module, which again is only as good as it is kept up to date. So part of the art is keeping it as easy as possible for whoever's job it is to keep that up to date. Okay. All right. So into some more specific things relative to a grocery store. So online store. So, and this is where we can sort of start to explore the transition between the process of forming a store and then, ideally not have to start from scratch or start over at all, just seamlessly, continue operation into the actual operation of the store. So, so an online store. So being able to manage an online store for both physical and non-physical items, right? Okay. And I think, Stephanie, tell me how much of this is rings true to you, but I think what we're thinking for Purple Carrot initially was you're purchasing fundraising or it was non-physical items we were focusing on at first. And if I recall, I think it amounted to kind of different forms of fundraising.
Yep. We were
Mhm.
thinking potentially doing like online ownerships or
Mhm.
gift ownerships,
Yeah.
making a donation
Mhm.
through our nonprofit fiscal agent, so getting them
Mhm.
connected to that. Yeah,
Yeah.
so some non-physical stuff. We do right now have a few physical items that we have to arrange for pick up or drop off, like our yard signs and t-shirts.
Mhm. Yeah.
So that
Ah.
might be like
Mhm.
the next step after
Yeah.
that, is some of those items
Mhm.
that have a very long shelf life, if you
Mhm.
will.
Yes. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Yeah. So we'll get to the actual selling, selling foodstuffs. And so the art here is going to be making this generalizable enough to sort of serve all those purposes. And then again, the ease of use on the back end for whoever's job it is to maintain and keep inventory current and so forth. Oh, cool. So continuing with fundraising, a donation form just for regular donations. And I think we're not decided yet if we were going to completely roll our own with our own donation functionality or choose some kind of third party that we wanted to integrate with. So that's kind of TBD. But one way or another to support make it easy to get a fundraising page up there to actual, transact real money. Okay. And these were just a few of the open questions relating to that. And I can't remember how much we had talked about this, but I would think we would want to also tie it into whatever accounting software is in use. Mm.
Yeah, that's definitely something that we'll need to think more about.
Mhm.
For my fellow cooperators, we are doing our capital campaign right now. So we've got some things set up for donations, that as far as how they could be anonymous, and if they can want
Mhm.
to have a tax deductible, or if they don't care
Yes,
about that. So
that's right.
it'll be, once we've kind of are past that phase and it's more ongoing, like after the store is open, we'll need to think about what options we want to have there. So
Mhm. Yeah.
more discussion to come on
Yep.
that.
Yeah. Yeah, good. Yes, I think we highlighted the questions we have there. Thanks for the added color. Okay. So I think that wraps up everything that would be part of what we consider just like the public facing website that anyone could go online and see. And then we get into the more kind of bespoke, gated and specialized content. So yeah. Yeah. So for site members, so anyone who's granted access to have some sort of a login in the system. So any site member can just manage their profile, same as on a lot of websites. And some way to designate on the back end, user status. Are they an owner? Are they an admin? What type of person is this, and what can they do once they're logged in? Let's see. So site members are also owners. Log in, see themselves as an owner. Just
That'd
confirm
be
their
like
own.
each individual co-op owner could log in and to their own
Correct.
account. Yep.
Yep,
Okay.
yeah. Just, confirm, confirm details are correct. The ability to download legal and financial documents. So, for tax deduction purposes, whatever kind of, people need their own financial information. So, I think the idea here, just reduce anything that reduces where they would otherwise have to bother someone to generate it for them, right? Just make that self-service and available, and just get what you need and be done. Okay. So this was, among a number of other questions to be resolved in the course of building the website, but this could mean a lot of things, I guess, what kind of legal and financial documents, but we know that's something we want the website to be able to do. Okay. Yep. So let's see. So beyond things that you could actually do when you log in, but just additional content that is not necessarily meant for the general public. So if there's any, not that we're dealing in anything like top secret or I'm tempted to make a joke about recent political goings on with Signal, but
Well, we do
We're
have
not yeah.
when we're fundraising, there are legal documents that that we
okay.
do have to secure.
Yeah.
So absolutely, that they could be housed in a place like this.
Yeah, good. And so as opposed to on text chains with journalists added on them, right?
Mhm.
All right. So yeah, at any rate, the point being, so some gated content, right? So it's legal proceedings, yeah, financial documents. This was a fun one. Just out of here's a question, maybe could this sort of be a social network and meet other oh, I didn't know my neighbor's a member of the co-op too, right? Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. So I hope I think that'd be fun. I hope we do that. But maybe maybe you could choose as an owner, maybe to be able to check your profile, show to other members or not, or show my contact information or not, right?
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. And then as sort of an analog to the public calendar. So maybe it would be the same calendar, but whether you're logged in, you see different information. So if there's a board meeting or things that are, cloak and dagger, very members only kind of events, you would see those if you were logged in as a member,
Interesting,
the
yeah.
type of user that you are.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Let's see. And then I think, yeah, so then the rest is things that would happen on the back end of the website. So maybe I'll just pause for a moment. And Stephanie, if that seems like a good summary, if there's any other color you wanted to put on that, feel free to add that. And then love to hear anyone else's thoughts on how this, if you can see the vision or can't see the vision of how that ties together, or anything that's obviously missing.
Yeah. I'm curious, what's not on the list that you would want
Yeah.
on the list, or what are you happy to see on the list?
I can speak more to my point. I've thought about this before coming into the meeting.
Mm-hmm.
So one was maybe a standard template for what is a co-op page that has links to YouTube videos.
Yeah.
Because every co-op doesn't need to invent explaining what they are or what a co-op generally is.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
This one might be really complicated, but being able to sign up as a member online is a huge functionality that our really established co-op doesn't have. You have to go to the member help desk to be able to do it, and it's
Yeah.
clunky.
Yeah.
Mhm.
One of the co-ops we're working with is multilingual. So if there's some way to have like easier language translation or like
Yeah.
websites in different languages.
I love
Um,
that idea. I
Mm.
think that's a fantastic
Yeah.
idea. All these are great ideas,
Yeah.
honey.
a product request form. I don't know if that is something you
Ooh.
necessarily want on
Nice,
their
yeah.
webpage because that could be annoying actually, but
Mhm.
I assume some members would want that.
Mhm.
A hiring page.
Wow,
Mm.
you did come
Um,
prepared.
yeah. I also used to manage websites for housing co-ops. So I was like the person who was like, people will tell me what they want, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Um,
We'll get to that.
and then the last one I have written here is like some kind of functionality with a map, like an online map thing, so people can like pull up like directions to the co-op on that web page, and then it can have like store hours and something like that. I know that a lot of businesses have something like that.
Yeah.
And then I'm also, I guess now that I'm thinking about it, a lot of grocery co-ops sell pre-prepared food. And I'm
Mhm.
wondering like what like ecosystem of web pages does that entail? Like, are there food co-ops out there that like deliver food, or like
Mhm.
people can order stuff ahead of time?
Yeah. Yep.
And that would be separate than like the product, like ordering
Sure.
products.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Honey, you got to check out the chat. Artist says you're spitting fire right now.
Let's see. I gotta see this too. Yeah.
I'm a huge fan. All of these,
Yeah.
I've been like noodling on these ideas on my own
Mm.
for over a year and a half, and to hear
Mm.
all of them articulated in like 30 seconds, one after another, just blew my
Yeah.
mind. This
Yeah.
is incredible.
Yeah.
I'm so
Awesome.
excited for this platform as a possibility, and how many like needs were just articulated as potentially
Yeah.
like that could be solved, that helps so many like business operational problems. It's so cool.
Yeah.
I have a question. This is Mindy from Rooted Carrot. So where you guys are working on Co-op 2.0, if you had the gated public content where an owner could log in and change their information, we've
Mhm.
had a email get dissolved in our area, they're no longer supporting it. And we're finding it's a lot of work to update everything. So is the ultimate goal that Co-op 2.0 would interface with something like that, gated public content where somebody could go in and update their information? If
Absolutely.
not, you maybe need to think about that.
Yeah, right. That's definitely on the list of things we want it to do, Mindy. Yes, for
Yeah.
sure. It's a great one.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome.
What else?
Yeah. Yeah. Any other feedback on Henny's and Mindy's ideas? Yeah, or other ideas?
I would like to ask how the safety protocols.
Oh.
We have had a horrible year with because we take credit cards on ours. We have a subscription service,
Yeah.
and we had a bot attack that we had almost 5,000 attempts over the course of about 3 hours in the middle of the night to get into our website. So we were shut down by the processor, the credit card processor. And, now I'm right in the middle of doing our Solero certification for this coming year, which you have to do in order to accept. So is there some way of making that surer or simpler? It's been very frustrating. I am not a computer programmer.
Yeah.
Darn.
Yeah. What was it? This is a whole rabbit hole we could go down and have a whole other session based on this. But the questions that come to mind immediately are what kind of activities were people, was this a website where people were just going online and making purchases, using
Yes.
credit cards to make donations, and then saving your card for future use?
Yes, it's a subscription purchase of a box of produce, and they
Okay.
were,
Yeah. Yeah. So the short answer to that is, kind of the theme of our whole call is to not reinvent the wheel with those kind of functions. And, my go-to would be Stripe for the payment processing functions. And, that's their whole reason for existing and just, rely on their battle tested technology. But just in general, just, utilize best practices for security throughout.
And
Yeah.
you will build that in, bake that
Absolutely.
in.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. And the technology itself is sort of agnostic, but just if anyone's, Henny, maybe this is, can share your input, but I'm thinking of using something called Elementor, which is a kind of like website builder, right? And so, it's not a perfect system, but it's pretty good. And, it's just got security features built in, but at any rate, there's, best practices to be followed. And sorry for the headache you had.
Yeah, but that's such a good point, Sue, and
Mhm.
definitely safety and security is important for
And
sure.
we thought we were secure,
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
but we were not. Yeah.
Mm.
it's very scary.
Yeah. And for the public perception too, you want people to feel
Mhm.
confident,
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So one fun thing to add on that is what's the common thing for grocery delivery that, like, big box grocery stores, you can use the name's escaping me right now.
Instacart.
Yeah, like that,
Mhm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
But you end up paying a ton to the Instacart company.
Mm-hmm.
But the basic idea is not that complicated. So I would love to see something like that could easily be, just for co-ops, right?
Ooh,
Um, so, okay.
whole nother ball of wax.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
Okay.
not even sure if because we're such a rural area, I don't even know if we have those types of things here.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Okay. Oh, wow. Okay. Okay.
So, I mean, like, I think you can probably do delivery through some of the stores, but it's like their store delivery system. I don't know if we have those more general ones or not. If
Yeah.
we have, I haven't used them.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm used to living in places that don't have some of those more urban city features.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. And that's another thing to keep in mind, Stephanie, is that if when building a template, we're going to have co-ops all over and all kinds of different populations
Yeah. Yeah.
using it. So that's a good thing to point out, that we all will have different resources available.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's something too that I just want to share with the others on the call is we are a very rural co-op. So our
Yeah.
town is less than 10,000, and I think the closest big city to us, which is 30 minutes away, is about 60,000 people. So we're a very rural area.
Yeah.
So for those of you that are in more urban areas, with bigger populations, I'm curious, as you looked through what Noah shared, was there something that was missing that you would want to see that maybe is more applicable to your area that maybe in rural we wouldn't need as much? Or vice versa for my fellow rural folks, what else would you want to see?
Yeah. Yeah, great call out. Anyone have thoughts on like different needs for urban versus rural co-ops?
Ooh, Doty's said in the chat, this may be an out there idea, but what about the ability to have co-op TV? Host a teaching kitchen show, for example, that can be logged in and viewed.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That'd be fun.
Cool. I think that kind of dovetails with I forget who mentioned it, like, informational pages about what is a co-op, why a co-op, right? And a lot of that content, once it's out there and created in the same platform, can be reused. So yeah, co-op TV, right? Everyone have their own channel on co-op TV, right?
And along those lines, open co-ops sometimes have kitchens, teaching kitchens. And so perhaps there could be some kind of streaming if there are classes taking place in the co-op's teaching kitchen.
Yeah.
Could you sign in online, or could you attend online? Penny has her hand raised.
I'm not a website developer, but I'm wondering for rural co-ops if it might be more handy to have some kind of like lower data version of the website, because like internet connectivity is very different depending where you are in the US, and sometimes
co-op.
yeah.
Get the dial-up version.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I have not heard in our area of that being a challenge for anyone, but that would be a good question to ask. I know that at least in Minnesota, there's been a lot of investment in rural broadband connection. So I haven't heard of it being too much of a problem. It definitely used to be a problem, but I think it's getting better for our market area.
Yeah, it's good to hear. Good old Minnesota. Yeah.
Another item in the chat was a library of videos,
Yeah.
which could be cool, like on the co-op info page. I like that
Yeah.
idea too.
Yeah. It's okay. We may be joined by, she can come in. Be joined by one of my kids. It's okay. 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 All right. Oh, come here, Anna. Hey, baby girl. It's okay. All right. This happened to fall on a day when my wife is working late as well.
Oh, of course, wouldn't you know?
Yeah. Open up.
Yeah, my
bit
kiddos
of real
were
life here.
snuggling
Yeah.
and listening in, and they were
Yeah.
saying, those people are from different places.
Yes, we
And
are.
we're talking about the different states that you
Uh-huh.
all were in, and they were
Yeah.
very excited.
Yeah. Lots of interesting places. Yeah, this is Anna.
Hi,
Say
Anna.
hi. She's been a trooper, hanging out with her sister for quite a while now. So, all right. So along the lines of, things that are different. So one of the things that we determined for Purple Carrot is we just said, for right now, we don't need multilingual support. Eventually build it in, but especially in more urban environments, I think that is going to be important, Henny, and I think that's a really great call out, right? So for the generalizable, just being as inclusive as possible. And so just to kind of, well, actually, I'll go through in order here. So a very important aspect of the site is, it's only as good as the content is up to date. And so a big part of it is who's, making it easy for the site to be operated and updated, right? So everything on the back end. So, site admins can, let's see. Yeah, one sort of, site owner can like administer a collection of other site admins. Oh, okay. You all right, Anna? Oh, okay. Oh, it's okay, baby. Oh. Being able to manage the event calendar, right, for both publicly viewable and more private events. And just generally speaking, whatever pages of content, whether it's publicly available or gated content, just to be able to, as easily as possible, get in and manage that content, right, and keep it up to date.
Hey, I had another idea, Noah, as you're talking.
Yeah.
What about voting? Would
Oh,
co-op voting, having that take place on your website, would that be attractive to co-ops? Like for your board election?
That's a really interesting idea, Katie. I am aware of a program that you can use where it sends out for online voting, and it like gives each person their own like secure code and secure link. So I wonder if it would more so be like, because I don't know how secure we want to do it, but if you wanted to have it, be more secure, you could do it that way. Otherwise, we, right now just verify it through, I think, one of the online survey platforms, which is not
Lumio or
as,
something.
yeah. But that would be really interesting. It would be really interesting to see the live results as people submit their votes with a little tally mark or percentage. That would be fun.
Yeah, great idea, Katie. And, Stephanie, I think you hit on something when, building any functionality, no need to reinvent the wheel if stuff already exists. So it's kind of a balance between you know, not wasting time reinventing stuff that already exists, but then also reducing the friction of having, okay, we do our surveys in SurveyMonkey and we have our accounting in this, and, you know, death by paper cuts of all these different systems we have to manage. So the more things can be kept under one roof, the better. So just rounding out what site admins can do, manage at any given time. There's any number of documents that would be available for download. Just keeping those documents current, curating that all such documents. And then this is kind of a fun one too, and could be its whole own rabbit hole. Is a website is only as good as people are using it. And quite often you put a website up there and you have no idea, like, are people using it? What are they doing, right? We spent all this time and money building it. What's happening? So some kind of tools, I think, to be able to get an appropriate level of information, like, you know, are people coming to the website? What parts are they lingering on? What are they doing? What are they not using? Where are they dropping off, right? And this could be, you know, literally a whole universe into itself. So I think it's going to be finding like the you know, minimum optimum set of metrics to be able to measure and just easily keep the pulse on site activity. Okay. You know, a few boring or fun things depending on your orientation, what we call the non-functional requirements security, right? It's definitely just got to be front and center with everything, right? Scalability, what we're thinking is, you know, we're thinking for Purple Carrot, up to 500 concurrent users would be a good benchmark to be able to prepare for. You know, I think if we have more than that number of concurrent users, that's a very good problem to have. Of course, just, you know, maintain uptime, and that's largely just a function of who you're using to host the website. This is an important one though, mobile compatibility. And so specifying not all aspects of the site, you know, if you're doing site admin, that doesn't necessarily have to be something you can do on your mobile phone. But at any rate, just being deliberate about which experiences do absolutely need to be completely mobile friendly. And then this is for any kind of website, but definitely for us where there is a lot of personal information, is just staying abreast of whatever laws and regulations we have to deal with, right? For giving people the option to erase their data, notifications about cookies being stored, and so forth. Okay. So this may be the last thing we get to, and time flies when you're having fun. We're almost at the whole hour here. So for Purple Carrot, these are some things that we determined we can just put them out of mind for the time being, but it's worth calling out. And I think some of these actually, you know, this one was already called out as something that for the more general case, I think we do want to be as inclusive as possible with different language communities, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But just for Purple Carrot, you know, we're just leaving this, we're just punting on this for the moment. Another one I think is important, but just making some decisions about what to do and not do for the initial build. We're not giving consideration right now to ADA compliance and screen readers and so forth. I think this is something that can and should be rightly considered. Right?
Yeah, for the template, Henny, I mean, Noah, you're thinking?
Correct.
Yeah, absolutely. Mhm.
Yeah. You know, and whether it's version 1 or version 1.1. And I'd actually love to hear some feedback on this. Is this something that, you know, would be relevant to your communities? I mean, I think it's just the right thing to do anyways, you know?
Your head's nodding.
Yeah. Okay. HIPAA compliant, we're not dealing with any medical information, but API access to data, I think, is something that will grow. You know, when we talk about the whole ecosystem of related environments and connecting to CoAP, this is something that I think will grow in time, but just not doing right out of the bat. And integration, actually, I kind of contradicted myself because we are talking about possibly, you know, integrating with like a fundraising platform, and maybe some other things. So we may be doing that one.
Oh,
Yeah. So that,
Noah,
yeah.
I wonder if we could stop there for now and
Yeah.
then just spend a couple quick minutes here. We have just a few minutes left to talk about costs and funding and
Yeah.
how we envision this working.
Yeah.
We're so thankful to Purple Carrot for agreeing to partner on this and be our pilot and help us build this template. But to get beyond the Purple Carrot website, it's going to cost us about $4,000, we've estimated, to integrate some of these things like Noah's talking about, like the multilingual. I would absolutely love to include some ADA compliance and all the other things that we've talked about here. So we're still brainstorming how that will be funded and how we'll make this available to co-ops. In the past, I have done like a cooperative funding process where I created some content, social media content for co-ops to use. The first one was during the pandemic, highlighting the importance of cooperation and why it was important to cooperate then. Probably we could pull some of that out right now and be still relevant. But that's a side note. But I made that available and asked co-ops to pitch in. And so lots of co-ops pitched in a small amount of money to help fund the creation of that. We can consider something similar for this template, where many co-ops would pitch in a little bit of money to have the template available, and then you could have it customized either with Noah or another developer. But we're also pursuing the idea of some funding, some grant funding perhaps, or some other organizational funding. So if anyone has ideas on that or thoughts about that, we'd love to hear that. We'd love to talk about it. And it sounds to me like there is a group of us, maybe a subset of this group, maybe it's all of us, that would like to continue to be part of the project moving forward. So to me, it seems like a good next step would be to set up another meeting to talk through how we move forward. So if you are interested in being part of that, I'll send it out the invitation to my entire network. But if you are really interested in being part of that, if you'll just indicate that in the chat, so I have documentation of that, I'll make sure that you're included and on the invite. We'll do that as our next step. Anything else, Noah, you want to mention?
Yeah, I'm just really delighted and honored for the opportunity to be a part of this, and I believe that with all my heart, changing the world one co-op at a time, because that's just real change in the world you can't argue with. So I love this.
Katie, can I ask one more question? It's Mindy.
Yeah.
What platform are you looking at to do those initial builds on?
Great question, Noah.
Looking at Elementor, something called Element. So WordPress with Elementor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Do you have thoughts on that, Mindy?
Yeah.
I don't, because remember I stepped into Rooted Carrots, and I've taken I'm a WordPress person, which is why I could step in and do some of that with ours. But it was built before I got there. I just it.
Gotcha. Okay, any other last thoughts from others? Okay. Well, thank you all. It's such an honor to have you all here today. Thank you, Noah, for facilitating our discussion. I'm super excited about this. When I came into the meeting tonight at 5 here, I was exhausted. I was so tired, and now I feel like I could go run a marathon. You've all energized me. So thank you.
Cool.
All right. Have a good night, everybody.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Take care.
Thank you
Bye.
both.
Bye. Hey,
Well,
Katie. Yeah. Good.
I think
Any
that went about as well as it could have.
Yeah, good. Yeah. That seemed entirely positive. So it was great to see the excitement. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
I'm
like,
just
okay, really.
Cooperative Education Fund, or CDF. Yeah, that might be a good idea for funding.
Okay.
Someone just put in the chat.
Oh.
Yeah,
Very
that
cool.
would be, except I've
Yeah.
tried to apply for them before and you have
Mm.
to have a nonprofit, Cooperative
Mm.
Education
Ah.
Fund. Let me see. I'll look at that again.
Yeah. Oh, who do we know that as a nonprofit? We could form one. Mhm. So I
Have
better
you
go pay
ever
attention to
formed
my
a
kid.
nonprofit? It's not so
I've been a
fun.
part of a group. I mean, last time, I mean, this was years and years ago, but it was basically it was $500 in the state of Washington, or maybe it's a federal thing.
Yeah, I
That's
don't
what
know. You
I
go
remember.
take
It was
care of
just
your
it was
kids.
yeah. All right.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Thanks so much, Katie.
Okay.
Talk soon.
Yep.
Bye bye.
See ya.
We'll talk tomorrow.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. All
Sounds
right.
good.
Hmm.
Bye.